and you shall have it, yeah. I know that it's true. You have everything it takes to make it through. When nobody else expects you to make it, you have everything. You have everything it takes to make it through. Look at you, look at you. I came here to tell somebody you have everything it takes to make it. Oh, get up out of me. No commandments I give to you. To love one another says. So the world may know that you're my disciple. Yeah. The love of God.
95, Q 95, 95, 95, 95, 95, 95.
The views expressed during this program are not necessarily those of Wise Q95 FM Radio. Wise Q95 FM Radio has not been able to independently verify the factual correctness or the allegations and statements made during the course of this program and cannot vouch for their accuracy. Therefore, Wise Q95 FM Radio will not accept any responsibility or liability for the statements or allegations made in the course of this program.
I know you're asking today, how long will it take? Somebody's asking how long.
All right, folks. Good evening, one and all. Yes, we are here. Patriot Voices on Q, and I'm your host for tonight's program. And my name is John Blanchard. I have not heard from the president as to whether he will be in or not, so I will not announce that he will be there since I have not heard from him. And of course, our vice president, Emmanuel, has been missing in action for some time. Brother sir, where are you? You need to come off to the shell, my brother, and get yourself a Q95. All right, so we will be linking up with Brother Zed Lloyd and Dr. Dion George by about 6:35, 6:40, thereabout. Just a little chit chat discussion. We're kind of going easy on the program, basically discussing different topics. Rather than having one topic for the entire night, discussing different issues and allow people to call in and weigh in on the discussion. So that is what we have been doing for the last 3 or 4 programs. So this evening, we will have the spiritual message. That's our last program that's not available. We're very happy to have it on this evening. So it will be aired a short while from now by our dear sister, Mrs. Lumina Vidal Valentine. And we're going to have a discussion on the quality of life of Dominicans. I believe Brother Zed is going to have also come up with some discussions on that Saudi Arabia deal. I'm not too sure if he concluded his research, so he could have something for us. And of course, we'll touch a little on the federal reform and any other topic that may pop in. All right, so we normally invite the presence of the Lord in our midst. And of course, we'll be doing that shortly. To have the roll call, and then we'll have we'll go straight into the program. But I suppose I should also call the different police type. It's not intentions to, but we're gonna do that quickly, and then we'll go into the meat of our discussion. All right, so please take a listen at this time before we go into the cooking. Not this one. Let's see what's going on. All right, folks, I'm not sure what is actually going on, so let me just
down on my knees. Down on my knees, I found my Jesus. Down on my knees, I found my Lord. It wasn't on the mountain, not in the valley, but it was on my knees.
all right, let me just call out the list quickly while you listen to the music in the background. Well, first and foremost, of course, my daughter, my princess, Kimaya, and her mom, Ketika, and to me at Salisbury, Delbert Blanchard and his wife in St. Martin, and to Martha, Bibia at Terry Spit, Jennifer Christopher, Brother Angelo Allen, Urban Long, and his family, good evening to you guys. Mr. Foy and family in Colby Street, and Celia Isaac, over there to Granny Urban Belterol, Joseph, Dan John, Ernestine Pelty, that's Matt's mother, Miss Jennifer Taffy, the Christian at the poor area, Rash Brigo, Eddie Pasqua, the Texas man, our brother Dorian, the Whitney Louis and the wife, Whippin Blanchard, aka Kawe, from Lapwest, Cyrus Raphael and the Rafford man in the USA, James and Daru from Good Hope, Mr. Lionel Laville, so I hope you're doing fine. I've not heard you in some time. Also big up our brother Martin John Baptist, aka Door, up there in Lapwest, Roberts Lane, Alison Pelty and Love a Girl in the Boston and New York area, Roy Taverny, Sandra Smith and his daughter Cressida Raymond, Akela, Dana, Jessica, Northern Michelle Kalunda, Manu, all these guys from Terry Spit, our dear sister Judith Dover, Porter Village area, our CCM members to include Susanna Rule, Maureen, Mr. Louis Robinson, Lofty, Earl, Bruno, Zai Emmanuel and others, Dr. Dion George, Mary Boy, Arundel Thomas, Bob Marley, Joel Joseph, quite a number of guys in the CCM group though. Dr. Thompson Fontaine, good evening to you, sir. The Del Jungle Band, Sam Christian, Irvin Pascal, Hazel Ricketts, Dr. Irvin Andre, Dr. Thomas, Hendrix Paul, my friend Jill Woodman. Also have Edith Abraham in the USA, Val Ferry, at Port Michelle, Mindy on High Street, Timeless Queen, VP, our flower girl, Sally from Warner, Jubin, Morris from Citroni, Sandra Sylvester, known as Misan, Robinson Charles of Campbell, Angel and Abigail, Ivan Nicholas, Dion Philbert, Brian Linton, our brother Tony Caesar and family in Totola, David C. Joseph, our dear brother and member of CCM, My partner, Ronald Marie, good evening to you. Merlin Bruno, Evadne Underwood from Salisbury. They also live in Georgia, USA. The Moon Savior guys, Buju and others. Fafa, Malonita, I know you are locked in. Good evening to you, ma'am. Hope everything is okay with you. I got for Samuel, better known as Carrot. The Bruno family in front of Michelle. John Frampton, McPower, Janice Bruno, or Hermia. Margreta, Craig, Tony, all these guys in the rapping area at Ludborough. Bishop up there in Lupe, I know you are always locked in and waiting for the big program. Shirley Allen, Pape Pale, Blue, Lucille, family members of Mr. Ralph Magwell in Loda. The Big Pot ladies, Myrna Louis up there in the USA. We also have Nerika T, my good friend Jessica. Hope you're doing okay. The Norman Chillingford, the African brother, Reverend Francis, Auntie Betsy, Auntie Bessie, up here in Bath Estate. I know you're always locked in as well. Good evening to you. Pano, Mr. George, Zed Lloyd, Blessings, Michael Coppel, Mr. and Mrs. Ozzy Lewis, of course. Good evening to you guys. Hope you're all doing okay. We pray for God's blessings upon you. Tyrant Theophil, Tyrant Scotland. We have the nurses, doctors, lawyers, the post officers, fire officers, Mrs. Desiree John, our dear nurse, this number, Rample and your husband in Pottersville. Pray God's blessings upon you and your husband, and I do hope that the Prime Minister will see it fit to pay for your land, for the property up there in Wesley. Long overdue. Richard and Gurup, Keith Matthew, Yolanda Roy and Mom Patricia, Adelaide Paul, Olivia Phillips from Collio, and of course all the other people. Good evening, you guys. All right, one and all. All right, folks, it's now 3:16, and we're going to go for a roll call right now. So please, next 3-4 minutes, we will appreciate your call. Let's call in and see where you're calling from. And we will just that at this time. All right, so the lines are open. The number to call are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. And if you are calling from overseas, it is 305-432-9624. Right, 305-432-9624. Feel free to call in at this time for the next few minutes before we go to this total message. Good evening, caller. Right on cue.
The map not muffin. Check your phone. The map not muffin.
I replied to your WhatsApp long time.
Yeah, the map really not muffin.
Yes, I
Something wrong.
Yeah,
good night to everyone that listen to my voice tonight. Rasbigo, long time I don't see Rasbigo.
Oh, Brigo. Yeah, he's there, man. He's there.
Okay, long time. I hope you listening. Martin, I hope you listening to my voice. And all who are listening, far, Tutmund.
I know.
Have a blessed night, everybody. I listen in.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Yes, man. First on top.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
How you doing?
Good evening to you, man.
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm good. Hold on. There.
Good. Give thanks for that, my brother.
Indeed.
Hey,
Hmm.
I just heard you call Zanine the same time I was thinking about it. I didn't realize your show was coming in at the same moment.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
just want to big him up, man, because I haven't heard his voice on the radio for quite a while.
Yes, same here.
I might be thinking I might have to give him a shout, see how he's doing.
Yeah, it's not been a program for some time, and so I suppose he will come in when it's ready.
Yeah, man, and I want to hail up Blessing too. I know Blessing on a sabbatical. I haven't heard him on the radio, you know.
Yes, blessings
But-
too. Yes, you're right. Blessings as well. Yeah.
But Blessing is a real soldier. Some people have seen certain interest and they find him kind of controversial, but Blessing is on the up and up, and some people don't understand that. You know, when we deal with some small-minded people,
Yeah.
Blessing is a globalist,
Yeah, man.
but
Okay.
he's for home, and he is very, very partial. I mean, it's very important to the conversation, and you know that he's partial to Dominica. So when he say what he says and how we come out, some people must understand, because some of us think local, he thinks global.
Yeah.
He's on top of what he's saying, and I think people need to understand where we're going with this kind of movement.
That's
Thank you, my brother. Take
All
care.
right. Yeah, man. Sure. Take care.
Cause When those trials come, the human nature shows the thing to do, and God's soft prompting.
Good evening, caller. You're right. Thank you. Oh, we lost this caller. Good evening, caller.
Good evening. I'm registering present.
Present. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
We worship you, Lord. Come on. I never made a fortune. Probably not too late.
It's probably not too late.
Oh, but I don't worry about that much. 'Cause I'm happy. Yeah. I go along nights.
And this one is going out to Myrna Louis. I know you love this one.
Better.
Drinking from my saucer. Myrna Louis, up in the USA.
I'm drinking
Enjoy this one.
my saucer. 'Cause my cup has overflowed. Ain't got a lot of riches.
All right, folks, now 6:21.
Sometimes to go in it.
Give another 2 minutes and then we move on.
But I've got a friend in Jesus. And that makes me rich enough. I thank God for all his blessings on me. And the mercies he's bestowed. I'm drinking from my saucer. 'Cause my cup has overflowed. You know, right now, you may be going through some rough times in your life. But I'm here to encourage you today not to give up. I pronounce the blessing upon your life, upon your family. You must prosper and be in good health in the name of Jesus. I believe it on my heart. Oh Lord, help me not to grumble and complain of the tough roads I have on. I'm drinking from my saucer. 'Cause my cup has overflowed. And if I should go on living, should the way get steep and rough, I thank you, Lord, I thank you, Lord.
All right, folks, it's 6:23 and we have to move on. So we're going to have you listen to the spiritual message at this time, of course, by our dear sister, Mrs. Amina Vidal Valentine, right? So please take a listen at this time.
Sinner. The past sin.
We need to get that to the top. Right to the top. Just 1 second. Okay, let's go.
Blessed greetings, beloved. We have arrived at a point of no return in Dominica. Today, we are where we are when leaders as well as people begin to call good evil and evil good. Thinking light is dark and dark is light. Sour is sweet and sweet is sour. Per Isaiah 5:20-21, they think they are smart. They think they are very intelligent, close quotes. For Luke chapter 7, these individuals are generally referred to as Pharisees and experts in the law who refuse to accept God's plan for themselves. Often, they are possessed with the spirit of judgmentalism, legalism, and justification. This chapter paints the perfect scenario whereby this teacher of the law, judging internally, muttered, if this man were a prophet, he would know who and what sort of person this woman is. That woman is a sinner, close quotes. Well, sir, you are wrong. That woman was a newly converted sinner. Her past sins were opened beforehand for all to see. But what about yours? They are submerged, buried beneath the depth of the earth. At least, so you think. But be assured that they will most certainly catch up with you at the right time. For some men's sins are clearly evident, preceding them to judgment, but the sins of others follow later. 1 Timothy 5:24. 1 Samuel 16:7. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. We should stop calling good evil and evil good in Dominica. Verses 40 to 44 points to two debtors who were both unable to pay their debts. In this scenario, their debts were graciously and equally forgiven. That's the kind of God he is. God knows the heart and tries the reins of man. Does God count our errors? Does he look at our mistakes? A broken and a contrite heart God will not despise, as evidenced with the woman with her expensive perfume. Luke chapter 7 describes how she kissed his feet, then washed them with her tears, dried them with her hair, and anointed them with her costly perfume. What an open expression of great love. This sinful woman, upon discovering the man in the mirror, totally surrendered her life to Christ, whilst conversely, per verses 41 to 43, Simon the Pharisee, who hosted Yeshua, was so repulsed by the woman's actions, made the prior disparaging condemnation. His mannerism typifies that of many, seeing this has become a commonplace in our society. Can you identify? I can. Stop calling good evil and evil good. Accurate judgment requires clarity of hearing and vision. This only comes with purity of heart. Beloved, God does not look at what people see outwardly. Let's consider another scenario contained in 1 Samuel chapter 16. Even Samuel the prophet got it wrong, because the moment he saw how tall and handsome Eliab, Jesse's son, was, he immediately thought he was the one, but Eliab was not the right man for the job. We will always get it wrong if we continue to look for charisma and eloquence of speech. It is not what we think, it's what God thinks. This shepherd boy named David was the Lord's choice. Thus he was anointed as king, not once, but 3 times. Those who believe they have a monopoly on things, those who seem to have a herd mentality or cultish tendency, be advised that 1 John 10:16 establishes, I have other sheep who are not in this flock here. I must lead them also. They will listen to my voice, close quotes. Whilst our interventions are of great value in building the nation, no one person has a monopoly on knowledge, which is the acquisition and application of information. However, the knowledge of God trumps all. Until we know the love of God, we know nothing at all. Moreover, it is written, the wisdom of the world is foolishness with God. Wisdom is the principal thing, and the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. For Luke 5:35, wisdom is shown to be right by those who accept it, close quotes. God has the final word ultimately. The counsel of the Lord stands sure. For Daniel 4:17, the Most High God rules over the kingdom of mankind, and he bestows it on whomever he desires, and sets over it the humblest and lowliest of men, close quotes. Concerning good governance, no one expresses it better than King David in 2 Samuel 23, 1-7. Beloved, we are given governments according to the condition of our hearts. Advisedly, everyone, particularly those who are contending for leadership positions, ought to stand with the man in the mirror and change their ways. Those who are to give leadership direction need to minister from a place of transparency, seeing that this designation bears significant implications. Whenever decision making is mixed with controversy or worldly reasoning, from the sacred cow or partisan ideology perspective, the kingdom message loses relevance. Beloved, when professing believers continue to support policies that are opposed to the advancement of the kingdom just to satisfy their earthly desires, it renders the kingdom mission somewhat of an oxymoron. Throughout scripture, God always raised up an army to chastise his people. For verse 22, this happened because they left the Lord, the God of the ancestors. This is why he caused all these bad things to happen to them, close quotes. Evidently, our current administration is a direct rebuke to the church. Isn't 20 years under Pharaoh's whip enough for us to resort to satisfying the 2 Chronicles 7:14 covenant between God and King David? Beloved, the Lord promises to show mercy in judgment when we humble ourselves. We have arrived at the juncture where there is only one option, either sink or float. Dominica surely needs a rebirthing experience. Let's wipe the slate clean in genuine repentance and start anew. We can have a metamorphosis moment with determination to help our neighbors if we can. The transformation will begin. In so doing, this will lend credence to the meaning of the inscription on Dominica's coat of arms, Apque Bonte Later. The ecclesia and the professing apostolic church in the nation must adjust our spiritual compass towards steering this demoralized or depraved society in accordance with godly principles. It is already late in the game of politics, yet there is hope for a rescue and restore movement until all is recovered. The kingdom of darkness is transformed to the kingdom of light, thus fulfilling the Great Commission. The kingdom of this world becomes the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ, the Messiah, and he rules forever and ever, per Revelations 11:15. Our beautiful Dominica will be restored by God's power, not man's. And in spite of these seemingly hopeless circumstances, once more, we will become a living community in Eden, our promised land, reversing the world government globalism agenda. It will not be realized in Dominica. Thanks again for listening. Peace.
All right. Peace and love to you, Mrs. Valentine. And we do want to express our gratitude for you having taken time off your busy schedule to have this message prepared for us this evening. We are very thankful for it, we're very grateful for it, and we want to pray that God will give you the strength to continue providing the message for us as long as we remain on air. All right, folks, so let's make a few brief comments on the message. Our president has just stepped into the studio. So just after my comments, I will have him, of course, say a few words of welcome and to give his speech, whatever he wishes to say at this time. All right, but I love the way Mrs. Valentine started the message. And she said that we have arrived at a point of no return in Dominica. I kind of laughed when I heard it. I want to do a slight correction. I wouldn't say that we're at a point of no return, but I do understand what Ms. Valentine means when she said we're at a point of no return. Because at the rate we're going right now, what is happening in Dominica right now, if we the patriots does not stand up and stop it, really and truly, there will be no return for us. So we're already heading towards that point. But I don't think we have gotten there as yet, because there's quite a bit of opposition out there. And people are very forceful now, people are agitated, and people are ready to make some sort of move to stop this madness that's going on. So we are not quite there as yet. Ms. Valentine also said that leaders, as well as citizens, or ordinary civilians, whatever you call them, begin to call good evil and evil good. They're thinking that light is dark and dark is light. And that is very true. And my understanding of that, in other words, some people try to justify the wrongdoings of others. And they do so because of who that person is. or who these people are, because of perhaps the benefits that they receive from that person, or because of the person's position, the prime minister, your president, your bank manager, your principal of a school, your pastor, whatever the position is, that person can do no wrong. In other words, that person can do no wrong. So you almost want to worship that person, so to speak. And even when somebody would talk about the wrongdoings of that individual, you find people will go mad and want to probably curse them up and so on, because they think that they're tackling their boss, they're tackling their leader, they're tackling the one that they have all the trust and confidence in. And that is very wrong. So to these people, it really does not matter what the leader does. He's right. He's always right, and he can do no wrong. And I think it was Hillary Shillingford I heard on Matt's show yesterday, briefly. I was on the move, that said, if Skerrit says that the sky is red, the supporters, some liberals would agree with him and say, yes, the sky is really red. They can see the sky is blue, they can see the sky is blue. But if it says the sky is red, they will say, yes, the sky is red. So when I heard Mrs. Valentine said these few words in her message, that came back to mind. I said, boy, that's exactly what Hillary was, the point that Hillary was making. You can see what the man is saying is wrong, you can see it's not right, it's incorrect, but you will agree with him because he can do and he can say no wrong. So that I believe is what Ms. Valentine is really want to say. Now, these people are, I would say they are blind and they can't see right from wrong or see wrong from right, if you put it that way. You know? And it is not only in the political realm, you know, it also happens in the churches, you know, where you have pastors, you know, leaders of the flock that will stand there and they won't speak against unrighteousness, injustice that is taking place in our nation today. And I'm going to single it out down to Dominica in particular. I mean, you have pastors, you have priests, you have elders, and all sorts of church leaders. They know, they see, they hear. They know what's going on. They can see of all the injustices that's taking place in the country. For example, they know of the Thompson and Dr. Thompson Fountain and Lennox Linton and Brian and all these guys, how they're being persecuted in the courts. 7 days and counting, appearing in the courts every time. And they know that these are bogus charges. This guy did not commit any offense. And I've never heard any pastor per se, but perhaps with the exception of Pastor Rodney and his team, to really criticize those things. As men of God, as women of God, you ought to criticize those things. Wrong is wrong, and you must say it. If you say you're a man of God, a woman of God, you ought to criticize things that are wrong. But some of these people, they are purchased. They are purchased, so they're afraid to open their mouths and say anything, because they will lose that little what do you call it, duty free on the port. They will lose that scholarship for the daughter, for the son. They will lose that little setup here and there. So they will keep quiet. They will rather compromise the word of God. So they compromise the word of God and put man before God. This is just so sad. Folks, according to Mrs. Valentine, a leader should be transparent. Okay? And I'm not saying exactly in her words, but a leader should be transparent. A leader should work as a team player and not a one man controlling everything. A leader should be able to take advice. A leader should be able to listen to other person's ideas and suggestions. If that person can't do that, my brother man, something is drastically wrong with that person. So what we need in Dominica right now, we need better leaders, God-fearing leaders, persons that are transparent, persons that love people, more than themselves because they want to see the country progress. So they will do good for its people. These are the kind of people we need right now in the governance of this country. All right, folks. So with these few words, I will end my comments right here on the spiritual message, and let me just put on the mic. You know, the mic number 2. Okay, so let me put that on. Let me have our brother Wash with Coffee, the president of the Concerned Citizens Movement, right here with us, and we're happy to have him. Of course, you know, Wash Big tried his best. You know, I mean, things are rough in Dominica, you know, very rough. And we have been struggling as a group to have the program on here. And as a matter of fact, by saying that, let me just remind the listeners that our program is second Friday and the last Friday every month. Okay, so we are having it today, 27th of September. The next program will be on the 11th of October, not next week Friday, but the following Friday. All right, so I want you to keep that in mind so you won't be expecting this next week Friday. It will be the following Friday. Okay, all right. So, but I was me these few words. Let me just introduce you to the microphone and to the few words.
Well, thank you very much, Brother John Blanchard. I need to really thank you. You know, this is something we always have to do for continuing to hold the fort and to put this program of the CCM, Patriot Voices on Q. I always refer to it as the valued program, your valued program on a Friday evening. And as Brother John said, we are on twice a month, basically, you know, given resources and so on. But we are very pleased to continue to provide you with this program. Let me say good night to all our valued listeners and fans out there who really give us the motivation to keep this program going, because, you know, when you step out there on a day-to-day basis, you meet various people from all over the island. While I know it is sometimes difficult for Q95 to reach all the villages and all the hamlets, but I think by and large, many people do make it their business to listen to Patriot Voices on Q. It's a quality program, very educational, very inspiring. It's out of your consciousness to uplift your consciousness and to get you to participate in the business of society, in Dominica's business. And we at CCM, we pride ourselves as being the voice for the voiceless. Many people would like to speak, but many people may have limitations and maybe do not have the opportunity as we do to speak and to educate and to inform. So we are pleased to continue to do that on behalf of all the citizens of the Commonwealth of Dominica. And given our motto, given our vision, our objectives, we believe that we have a right, we have a space in this democratic society. It calls for all views to contend. And it cannot be just government and business, but society itself through its various non-governmental organizations has a voice and has to speak. In a democratic society, all views contend. Yes, the majority rules, but the minority must be heard. And they must not just be heard in terms of just listening in one ear and coming out in the other ear. You have to be mindful of the voices of the citizenry, and that in itself could be could provide guidance for the systems that be for the powers of control, that they can exercise certain limitations. They can, we are there to ensure that, you know, there is no abuse of the citizens by government and the powers that be. Not because we might be unsuspecting of what government is doing. This may not be an opportunity to do as you like and to put society aside and to rule by your own whims and fancies. So we have a space, and we are using this medium through Q, provided through Q, to reach out to the masses so that we can educate, inform, motivate, and to improve your consciousness. Let me, as I speak in my opening remarks, let me just send out get well wishes, especially to one of our, I would call him one of our freedom fighters, one of our serious patriots, Brother Bernard Wilshire, a man whom, you know, many years in the late 70s and early 80s, I had the opportunity to work with him, and even now at this point in time, he has been of immense support to the Electoral Reform Coalition and to initiatives aimed at improving the quality of life of the Dominican people. So I want to extend get well wishes to Bernard Wilshire, and also to my first cousin, Linworth Coffey from River Syriac, who has not been doing well. He has shown tremendous improvements, I must say, over the past couple of weeks. And we hope that both he and Bernard would see themselves through at the Dominica Chinese Friendship Hospital. Let me also take this opportunity to extend, I called him this morning, our brother patriot, Glenn Ducre. His mother-in-law was buried in Salisbury today, this afternoon. So I did call Glenn, but I want to take this opportunity to extend our well wishes, our condolences to Glenn Ducre's wife and to the extended family on the passing of Glenn Ducre's mother, who was buried this afternoon. On a more serious note, I think these were announcements I had indicated we would have mentioned a couple programs ago. I think at the time we did look at Fiala 4 and Atanaz and Hodge and the Louis brothers, you know, in terms of their performances in sports, but we have had other people with Dominican links who have been doing well in their various areas. And they are both related to me family-wise. But I first of all want to mention Irene Marion Schofferman. Listeners may recall soon after the Biden administration came in political power, there was somebody with Dominican roots who was given an appointment in the Department of Transportation. And information emanating from her dad in Portland, Oregon, indicated that Irene Marion Schofferman, born in Dominica, of Dominican and American parentage. She was very successful in being awarded the Minority Transportation Woman for the year 2024. I think that is a positive accolade for Dominica. We have to recognize that we have Dominicans in serious positions doing very well. So given that information emanating from her dad, I think I had the whole citation, but I think my phone, it just died on me a while ago. So I cannot read the full citation. But I think I want to recognize the efforts of Irene Marion Schofferman. Actually, her uncle is Father Coffee, her mother Elizabeth Coffee Schofferman. So I want to extend my congratulations to her and to the extended family on such an accolade, being awarded the Minority Transportation Woman for the year 2024 in Washington, D.C. And keeping along the family lines, many of us would recall deceased Dr. Violet Coffee. Dr. Violet Coffee was a very important person to the Dominican society in culture, in terms of her contribution to tourism, events, and so forth. And she suddenly passed away a couple years ago in the United Kingdom, but she was given a posthumous award at the Kentites Royal Gala at the Grand Park Hall in Luton. And this posthumous award was given to her by the University of Bedfordshire for her valuable contribution to the field of tourism, events, research, and advancing the body of knowledge in these various fields. Again, I got a citation from my cousin in the United Kingdom, a detailed citation regarding that award. But again, I am not able to read the extended citation tonight. But these are persons, well, Violet, who made a very important contribution to Dominica. As I said, Dr. Violet Coffee. And incidentally, Violet Coffee is the aunt. This is Violet Coffee, is the aunt of Irene Marion Schofferman that I mentioned in the earlier award in Washington, D.C. So I think these are important, important happenings, important developments that we should mention, that we should be aware of our people who are making their name in the international circles as regards to their contribution. And as I said, that Violet is deceased, but her work has been recognized and rewarded by the University of Bedfordshire for her enormous contribution to the fields that she has been involved in. So these are all my opening comments, and as you indicated, Brother John, we will be looking at the quality of life generally, discussions on electoral reform. And I also believe that if time permits, it's a very current issue with regards to the CBI and the UWP proceeding with some court process. I think it might be critical to mention that because, John, you see, given the comments made by Honorable Lennox Linton, I still refer to him as honorable. He is indeed honorable. Given comments he made at the UWP press conference, and I want to relate that to our letter because the public need to be aware and need to be reminded that sometime last year, I have the letters in my file there, but for not wasting too much time, I will just refer to that particular letter that was sent from the CCM to the Prime Minister, to the Minister of Finance, to the Attorney General. This letter, as you know, concerned our call for accountability and transparency with regards to the CCM program, especially at the time when there were comments and action being taken by the United Kingdom and the EU regarding Dominican citizenship program. And we did send a letter to the Minister of Finance, carbon copied to the Prime Minister and to the AG, calling for information regarding the CBI in terms of revenues, expenditure, and so forth, going back to over a 10-year program. So we, as a concerned citizens movement, have in fact expressed our concerns and made calls for accountability and transparency. And we never even got any acknowledgement of our letter, much less for a reply. So when Mr. Linton said that as far as the UWP is concerned, they have extended and exhausted all efforts to get information, and as a result of that lack of response, then they have had no choice but to respond or to initiate court action. Yeah. And what I'm saying is that it's not just the UWP, but even people like ourselves did call for that extent of accountability and transparency. But we will probably have more comments to make on that later down in the program. But I think it would be critical to look at that aspect, that current aspect of our development, because I personally believe that there may be significant lessons coming out from that process of that court action, which might have significant bearing for our future in terms of governance and financial accountability and financial control.
All right, Wasby. Thank you very much. Quite a lot of information there from you. Appreciate that. And like you said, we'll have a little more discussion on that. If not at this program, maybe lower down, like some other program, because it's still at very early stages. I mean, it has not been launched in the court yet, right? No, I don't think so. I think it's next week or week after. So yeah, so keep our ears open and let us see how this one turns out. And based on what I heard, the senior counsel at the press conference said, and Donald Charles and others, that this court case will go right down to the very end. So whatever happens locally, it will be. We expect there to be an appeal on either way. If the government loses, they will appeal. If the government loses, they will appeal. So there will be a few appeals until they reach to the last level, 63. So let's see how that works out. Still very early to have too many comments on it. All right, we have been talking for some time. It's almost 7 o'clock, 2 minutes before 7. So let's take a musical break. Take one to call in between and then we can continue to talk from there.
Captain, this is a rock, yes. We got some almost empty new electricity. We all pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa.
I've not seen Dr. Dion George. Neither have I seen Brother Shed Lloyd. I'm still hoping that they come in. We'll have them with us this evening, of course, and to have some discussion. Good evening, caller. You are right on cue.
Yes, this is Lucy. The question I want to ask, Coffee.
Copy.
Yes, I'm listening. Good
Yes,
night.
you know any Matt Taser?
Matt Taser?
Yeah, Coffee.
Coffee, that question is for you.
If I know any Matiza or Makaza.
Makaza, what I just kept from.
Oh, okay, I was wondering.
Well, Makaza Coffee is my son. Makaza,
Oh.
Makaza Coffee, who lives in Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
Yeah.
Why I asked you, I was wondering what is he to you? I knew he's a Coffee.
Yes.
I was in New York when he got married, and some of my family in the house had to travel to the wedding.
Okay.
That's
good.
Am I right?
That's good information. I was at the wedding in New York at that particular point in time.
Right.
Yeah.
I was there, but I was not at the wedding.
Okay.
But people where I live had to go to the wedding.
Okay.
The Smith standing.
Okay, yeah. These are his buddies from Solomon
Right.
Lane.
I just wanted to know if he's your son or what.
Right, he is, and he's a good friend of the Smiths.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, proceed. Thank you. You got the information.
Free. What's that the Eric William passed away? The ship hit rough water and someone turned the bridge over to a captain named Chambers. Me blood crawl, things start to fall. Hold me head when I say fall. Captain, the ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are.
All right, folks. This week we heard something, and since that Coffee mentioned the press conference of the UWP, we saw that some malicious person or persons tried to doctor or edit Ronald Charles' speech at that conference to say what he did not say, so to speak. And so before we even delve into further discussion, we want to just juxtapose these two comments, or these two audios rather, so people can understand, how wicked, how malicious some people can be. I'm not sure if you heard it, Washburn. Yeah, I'm not sure if you heard that thing.
Well, I listened to the authentic
One from Ronda, okay.
The doctor one that has been referred to.
All right, so it's very short. So let me just a minute, please. So I'm going to play the audio, what Ronald Charles actually said, okay, and then we will play the one sentence audio from the other side, or whoever the persons were that tried to say something differently. All right, so let's take a quick listen.
I want to say one thing. Already, those on the other side, already telling people that we are in the process of stopping the CBI program. I know that you will hear it from the president. This is not the objective of it. And of course, senior counsel will give some brief remarks in this regard. Let us not mislead the Dominican people. Let us remain focused on justice and integrity and what the Constitution says. We have to abide by rules and regulations. Therefore, accountability is important to us, especially as it relates to the CBI program. And we do know across the region that this avalanche, what I call the CBI program, has caused a lot of concerns for us as citizens, regular citizens, and for Dominica and the region bank. I want to say one thing. Already, those on the other side, already telling people that we are in the process of stopping the CBI program.
So you heard it, right? Ronald Charles said that those on the other side, they're already saying that we're in the process of stopping the CBI program. And he went on to express the concerns that his party has about the program in terms of accountability, lack of accountability and transparency, and all of that. So that is the point that Ronald Charles was making at that conference. But listen to what that evil person had did. Listen.
Bless greetings, beloved.
Oh, sorry, it's wrong order.
And we all know their real plan.
We are in the process of stopping the CBI program.
And we all know their real plan.
So that is all.
We are in the process of stopping the CBI program.
So whoever did it, just choose that one sentence. We're in the process of stopping the CBI. And you know what that reminds me of? That verse in the Bible, I cannot tell you the exact book and verse. Maybe Mrs. Valentine can message me the chapter and the verse, where it says that the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Now here comes an atheist now arguing with a believer that the Bible says that there is no God. And he picks up the Bible and he shows the guy just that one sentence, there is no God. But he did not read the entire thing, where it says, for the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. And that's exactly what happened with the doctrine of that tip. The person only chose that one sentence. We are in the process of stopping the CBI program. If you listen to the entire clipping, you will hear where Ronald Charles was explaining that those on the other side, they're already saying that we're in the process of stopping the CBI program. But that is not the case. And he went on to explain the concerns that his party has as it relates to the lack of transparency and accountability. So I thought I would just bring that out. I think Matt spoke about it. I don't always have the time to listen to Matt, but I think it is very critical. And to my mind, anybody doing that, any political party doing that sort of mischief, is a sign of fear and desperation. They realize that court case is going somewhere. They know that there is quite a bit of evidence to suggest that the monies are not properly accounted for, and we have over $11 billion passports that has been sold and only collected, I think, somewhere about $3 billion. So there's quite a substantial amount of money unaccounted for, and that is their fear. They would have to come up with figures or whatever they did, and the quantum, how much it costs to build the apartments at Lapley, at Castle Bruce, at Grand Fort, wherever it is, and I'm almost certain that there's no way they can justify $11 billion being spent in Dominica with our current state of affairs, where the national debt has tripled. You are selling passports, you are making money, but your national debt has tripled. Ever so often, you go to Parliament to get approval for more loans and more loans. You have things like you have the hospital lacking basic medication and all the other poverty-stricken situation that we have in the country. But yet, for all, you have sold over $11 billion in passports. So it's going to be not as difficult, but an impossible task for the government to justify having spent $11 billion. And they know that is a very strong case. And so they're starting with the propaganda. They started with Ronald Charles, but trust me, there will be some more about Edison and about Dr. Thompson and Lennox and others. There will be more propaganda. So we are putting you on the alert, Patriot, that there's going to be a lot of propaganda about particularly the persons at the helm of the party, people like Edison, James, and Lennox and Thompson and these guys. They're going to try to soil their names to sort of change the whole thing. So rather than people focus on the case and what's coming up, they'll be talking about what they're saying about Lennox and others. Just take my brother.
Yes, well, my take on that really is we as the citizens, we have to be very careful and we have to be very circumspect in what is going on around us. And given technology, we are in the days of what is being referred to as AI, artificial intelligence.
Go ahead,
and that in itself, while there are many positive aspects, and I am still learning and developing my thinking and my thoughts about AI, there seem to be very positive, many positive things about it. But even discuss, even in terms of the international space, all the leading world countries that are moving ahead with AI, they are also looking at the bad side of AI.
You must tell people what's AI.
Well, as I say, I am very limited in my information, but the abbreviation for it is artificial intelligence. And that artificial intelligence can be used in very detrimental ways. And you talk about propaganda in politics. Politics is very much in the communications field, and there is a lot of misguided and bad propaganda.
You want me to make it popular?
Politics.
Would you like me to make it popular?
Leaders and politics.
Would you like me to make it popular?
So we as citizens in Dominica, we have to be very careful in terms of what we read, what we hear, how we analyze and dissect what we hear. Because it's not everything that is said and broadcasted that is truth. So we have to be able to discern what is truth and what is in fact fake information.
Thank you, Watby. I don't want to cut you off short. I'm prematurely about that. So, Brother Zed and Dr. Dion George is on, and it's already 12 minutes after 7 o'clock. And I want to give them an opportunity to really say a few things to us. Brother Zed and Dr. Dion, are you all on?
Yes.
All right, I can hear you clearly. Zed. Brother Zed. This was going to be Zed. What is it you now?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, good. All right. All right. Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us again. But you guys are late now. It's 12 minutes past 7. I've been looking for you since 7.
We've been there, man. I've been listening to Washby. I was in the background. I guess you weren't checking the camera, but we've been there. I've been there.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, my apologies.
Good night, Brother Zed and Brother George.
Good night. Good night.
All right, guys. Well, we like we said earlier on, like we indicated earlier on, that we want to touch on the quality of life of Dominicans and also on electoral reform. And then we spoke about the press conference that UWP had recently, yesterday, and how some persons tried to distort what Ronald Charles said. So I played both clippings, the one from Ronald Charles, what he actually said, and the one that was doctored or edited, if I put it that way. And we had some discussions on that. I'm not too sure if you guys heard us when we were discussing these matters. So I'm not sure if you want to just weigh in on what we have said so far before we move on to the other topics, that is the quality of life.
Well, John, good evening, Brother George. Good evening, everyone. Since I was listening, I think the whole issue of respect and disrespect comes down again to the people. I think we keep having the conversation for the last decade plus on Roosevelt's carrot when we talk about respect and lack of respect and disrespect. We keep having it like placing the onus on the Prime Minister. I think moving forward, we need to realize democracy is not active in Dominica because the people of Dominica are not playing their part in the democracy. I think that is we've left that out of the conversation, and we keep talking about the prime minister and his disrespect, not answering to letters, not, all these things can happen, and the prime minister can get away with these things because the people are not playing their part in that democracy. A democracy requires a balance of forces, and the government, in a certain respect, is really more a buffer. But this government doesn't act as a buffer to locals; it acts as a buffer to foreigners, and that's problematic. But at the same time, if the people accepted their responsibility in the democracy, these things would change. So I just hope moving forward, I think on that whole patriotic front, we need to talk to ourselves. We need to talk to our people more. We've been talking outwardly, the prime minister, the prime minister, the prime minister. But a lot of the things that happens in Dominique are happening because Dominicans do not realize they have a responsibility for their democracy.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Brother Deon George, your comments? Brother George, I think you're probably muted. Check your mic. Brother Deon George. He must be muted.
Might be addressing his mom.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he'll join in, man. Let's
All
let's
right,
move
okay,
on, man.
let's move on. All right. Yes, brother said I agree with you, and these are things that you have said before. You know that let's put less attention on Roosevelt's carrot, and let us with the people focus on the task ahead, what we have to do in order for us to
And John, that's why that move by the United Workers' Party is an important move.
Very much so.
I wish there were more. I wish there were more constituents to that pledge. With other people leading, being there at the table, and I really wish it was a broader thing. But I applaud them because you see, at some point, if you're going to function in a democracy, you're going to have to trust the law. At some point, otherwise you become undemocratic. You're going to have to choose options that are not necessarily democratic options. So I thought we took too long a time to involve the law in the process of resistance. Yes. Too long a time. But it's there, and again, it's resources. It's resources, and to the diasporans.
That's a problem. Yeah.
The diasporans listening, I want to ask you on behalf. I'm not a UWPI member, but I want to ask you to support that move. Go onto their website. Call up these brothers, Thompson and all these guys. Contribute something to this.
Yeah.
Contribute something to this. This victory is not just for United Workers' Party. It's important that we get some measure of accountability in this program. And in spite of these guys and their foolishness about doctoring our brother's voice and having it sung like he's saying you want to kill that. People in Dominica know what time it is. We all understand from all sides that it doesn't make sense to just kill that program. We have not done the things that we needed to do with that program. We have not put the fundamentals in place from that program. We've given a lot of foreign deals and people come in hotels and whatever, but in terms of real development that can keep us moving beyond CDI, we have not put these things in place. So in terms of CDI, we are still at a disadvantage, even after 50-something thousand foreign passports being sold. We are still at a disadvantage because we have not done the things that we were supposed to do with that CDI money so that we could wean ourselves off CDI. So to make the argument that the United Workers' Party wants to kill the CDI is foolishness. An intelligent brother like Thompson will already have assessed this economically and realize we need this economics for a minute. So the United Workers' Party is not going to, be pushing that kind of garbage. what we want to do and what I think moving forward, all of us in that movement should ensure is the resources of the CBI be started to used in terms of real developmental initiatives so that we can really cut down this idea of having to sell our passports to infinity.
All right, sir. Brother George is on now. Brother George? Brother George, are you on right now?
Yeah, put him in.
Okay, let's see how we can fix it up, all right?
Yeah.
What's
Well, just to make a few more additional comments in terms of what I have already contributed here this evening, especially as it has to do with the CBI and the accountability. Even listening to the press conference last week, Curtis Matthew representing DBS, he asked a question which was just to me a qualitative question. But given the emphasis of the action being contemplated, I find Curtis Matthew really, his question was to me out of context, so to speak. Because here it is, Curtis Matthew is saying, well, you know, the CBI, you see the roads, you see the houses, you see the health centers. But what Curtis Matthew should recognize is that by seeing an infrastructure doesn't indicate the accountability for that infrastructure. We need to move from just qualitative analysis to more quantitative analysis, and that is where the real accountability comes in. Yes, you build 5 health centers, you build houses and so on, but what is the cost per infrastructure? The dollars and cents. We're supposed to say the houses in Daly Seas cost X amount of thousands and X amount of cents, and have a breakdown as to the aspect of construction. And these financial statements as it relates to all these infrastructure, they can only be authentic after they have been audited. And if you do not give that kind of information so that people will know precisely how much funds have been spent. What are you talking about, Curtis Matthew, when you're talking about, oh, you see the roads, you see the health center and so on? That doesn't equate to dollars and cents, and that is the accountability and quantitative analysis that should be provided to the general public. So I think Matthew, he seemed to have been either out of context. I just find that question was a very basic question coming from a senior editor.
Dion Josh, are you on now?
I'm on right now, yes.
You are the front stage now, okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so let me just take the quick opportunity to say a very good, pleasant evening to my good friend, Zed Lloyd, a certain person who I think has Dominica at his forefront. Also, let me say good evening to the president of CCM, Mr. Washby, and of course yourself, John, for being such a strong patriot. And listen to me. Let me just say this quickly before I give my couple of points. I told you I cannot stay long, and you understand why.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, taking care of my mom, and I'll be very quick. I will say this. You are doing something to Dominica there that I don't know if persons recognize it, but what you're doing, God has recognized it. And I say that because it's true. What you're doing for Dominica there, to host this show on a Friday evening, instead of playing soca music or calypso, which I like, but what you're doing, we're really talking about things. So what QFM has done, they have given us a voice that we can speak towards issues that affect the nation. And so I am so happy that I can lend my 2 cents toward that. The first thing I want to talk about, well, I want to talk about 3 things. I want to talk about electoral reform.
Right.
I want to talk about the issue of caller who called QFM today. And then you mentioned quality of life. And I would like to dissect that in the most split way. Okay, on the issue of electoral reform, I'm not going to spend much time on it because the entire country, I believe, is aware that we need voters' ID, yes, and we need residency qualifications. What that means, my dear friends, is that persons who have lived overseas for X amount of years, and by the way, again, I will reiterate that the Constitution of Dominica have set it clear, if you have lived overseas for 5 years, then you're not eligible to vote. Now, the problem that comes with that, it becomes gray. That's, can someone stay overseas for 5 years and come down for 1 day and vote for 1 day? And I would say no. And that's where we have to straighten that. With that, when they say the Prime Minister is not giving any electoral reform, what I would say is electoral reform is a process. And so if we can just start with 1 or 2 things, that is acceptable, I would think. So we are not here to dictate to the government what should be. We are not here to dictate that. What I would humbly say is that we are here to push the process forward. And so every little step is a step. And I think we should start with voters' ID, and we should start with clarifying the residency. That's my view. I mean, we can have 18 views, and we say, for example, without those 18 views, we're not gonna settle without that. No. I would say let's start 1 at a time. It's a process. On that note, the next thing I would like to talk about is, you mentioned the whole idea of Dominica and roads and so forth. I heard a caller from Salisbury call today, and he was very adamant about the fact that that they're using less qualified equipment, tarish, to fix the roads. And he was very perturbed, extremely perturbed, based on his utterances. And perhaps he have reasons to. I would think the government, well, one of the things I did get from his utterances is the view that there are persons in Dominica who can do the job. And as one who have studied politics, one who teaches public administration, I don't think it's fair to the local contractors and to the local people that they are not getting an opportunity to bid for the contract to do these jobs, because I swear they can. All right, and so I'll just support him on that view. The other thing I want to dissect here, and I will do it quickly, you talk about the quality of life in Dominica, and Mr. John Blanchard, Mr. Washby, and my good friend Zed Lloyd. I want to dissect what is quality of life. There are 5 sectors to it. Again, one might say that he's been too scientific, but I have to do it because that's just what it is. So when you talk about quality of life, the IMF and the World Bank, they have dissected into 5 sectors. They have dissected into what is called the Purchasing Power Index. It's a statistics based on 100%. And if you want to ask me, Dominica, let's bring it local, ranks at 31%, 31.53%. And this is called very low. It's called the Purchasing Power Index. That means, my dear friends, when you get your salary and you pay your rent or your mortgage, you pay your loan for your car, or whatever it is you have to pay, how much money do you have to spend? And for Dominica, based on the international standard, it rates at 31.53%. And the I heard my brother Washby talk about qualitative analysis. Well, the genus of what that means is it rates as very low. That's qualitative for you. Now, the quantitative part is 31.53.
It's very low.
Yeah. The qualitative part, to put it in a nutshell, is 31.53, which is very low. The other part of the whole context of the quality of life is something called safety index. Now, when we talk about safety index, one refers to crime and violence, etc. It ranks at 46%. And I want anyone to, just the opening listeners, go to YouTube or go to Google. It's an easy search. And look at what I'm speaking about, and you will see it for yourself. It says that for safety index, it's 46%. They said that's moderate, meaning that Dominica is not such a violent place. But moderate is not the best. There was a time Dominica rated as being safe. Now it's moderate. The other one is called climate index, and there's a question mark toward that. So we do not have a rating on that. I told you I will dissect it. The other one is called, what is it? Cost of living index. That's very important. It rates as 51%. And they are saying that ranks in a qualitative way as low, meaning that every dollar we make, half of it is not our own. And so it's very tight for persons doing groceries, paying their bills, and so forth. And again, these are quantitative statistics, but again, according to my brother Washby, we can put it into a qualitative analysis to make context of what it means for the local man. And essentially, what the data is showing is that you make $1 today and you spend half tomorrow, or maybe all. And that's not good. The other one is called pollution index, and it's 20.69. And I will stop on this one, and I can allow you to go on with the program. But I will say the pollution index, I do not believe Dominica is polluted. The answer is no. But however, with the advent of hurricanes, with the advent of fixing roads, I heard about drenching rivers, etc. What I would say is that I don't know. Well, they rank. Okay, let me give you the number that I got, that I gleaned of the internet. It's 20.69%, and it says that's very low. And we call ourselves the Nature Isle of the Caribbean. And I'm thinking that perhaps we should maybe try to really take on the view that we are really the Nature Isle. I have many friends when I went to college from Grenada and St. Lucia and St. Vincent and Barbados, and they really relish Dominica. They do. They say Dominica is a nice place. And so we have to keep what we have. To rank at 20.69%. Again, I'm telling the listeners that they can Google it. The host of the show, Mr. John Blanchard, says that we're looking at quality of life. And I said I would dissect it. And I will dissect it, yeah. And so these are the numbers, and persons can look it up for themselves. And I think what we have here tonight on CCM, Concerned Citizen Movement, is a very good show because it gives us a voice to share knowledge. It also gives us a voice to share information. And I think that's healthy. And that's where I stand. So these are my opening comments. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Doc. And I must say that the information that you just gave there is very, very critical and I'm shocked. I'm shocked, but particularly when we spoke about the 41.53%. We spoke about the cost of living index.
Yeah, the 41.53% is for the purchasing power.
The power, yes. That is extremely low, and it explains why people are always crying broke in Dominica.
Yeah, and this is under the quality of life, eh?
Yes. It means that the dollar doesn't have a dollar value anymore.
Correct.
So you make $1, but you really have a value of 50 cents.
Excellent.
Whatever it is, and that is the way we need to break it down to the ordinary man to understand. When you talk about 31.53% and quality of life and cost of living index, you need to understand those things. And the pollution index that we spoke about, the 20.69%, is not surprising to me. And while we call ourselves the nature isle, like we said, we all know what's going on right now in terms of garbage collection. I mean, you've got garbage all over the place. You've got the drains all over the place. Not just in Roseau, all over the place, untidy rats.
I mean, Mr. John Blanchard, incidentally, I have heard that there is a concern, not just in Salisbury or in even Roseau, but I heard that all over the place there is a concern about garbage collection. Is that
That's
so?
right. Yes, exactly. Then the trucks to collect garbage. You have guys using the ordinary trucks, putting plyboard on the side and so on to collect garbage. I mean, it is just a sad state in this country.
But John,
yes,
John, you see, it still comes back to that conversation at the beginning. Even Brother George talks about the people, the truckers, and they're not the same thing. Like the truckers could have done what UWP did this week. The truckers could have gotten together 3, 4, 5 years ago and file an injunction against, just take a project and file an injunction against the project on those grounds. Because as long as you have constitutional premise, you are most likely not going to lose in the court. You may not get what you're looking for in totality, but as long as you're on constitutional premise, you have a reasonably good lawyer. You're not going to come out a loser in the court. You understand? So the truckers, that was like the frontier of that resistance. That should have been the frontier of that resistance when that whole construction thing started happening and locals getting sidelined for foreigners. That should have been the first frontier in that establishment of democracy. And so the truckers fell down. The construction workers fell down. And all you have now is just a continuation because nobody stands up to the prime minister. Yeah. You understand? So, and that's all it takes, John. That's all it takes. In fact, sometimes one individual is all it takes sometimes, it's just the right, set of things. But I'm happy this week, we took a stand. And I think we have to amplify that in terms of so that more and more people can feel more confident in taking a stand. You understand? Same thing like parliamentarians. We need people to come forward and present themselves as alternatives to the people. You understand? Come forward. Because it is that motion of strength that a few people are waiting for, to see a few people exhibit strength and for them to join you in that movement. So it's all about taking a stand. We can shift all these things. We can shift the dynamics that Brother George just talked about. We can shift these numbers by having our garbage picked up on time. There's no reason why the people of Dominica should sit by and have their condition of garbage at this level in Dominica and not ensure the government fixes it right away. This government says it has money. It's been selling our passports. It has no excuse for not having 5 or 6 good, dumb garbage trucks in the country. That's ludicrous. You know what I'm saying? So, but it comes to us. It comes back to us. We have to take a stand to improve our quality of our life.
Yeah, my suggestion on that whole garbage thing is that the government could delegate some of its responsibilities. For example, you have village councils all over the place, town councils and so on, urban councils. Why don't you empower these councils? So you give, for example, the Point Michelle Village Council a garbage truck that will take care of garbage collections for the south. So you have Sophia Scott at Point Michel, perhaps Newton, Roubier, and that entire area, even Piche and so on. Then you have the town council could probably have one to cover another area. You have the Kinfield Urban Council would probably cover Kinfield, Massac, Mao, St. Joseph. So you empower these councils. You purchase garbage trucks and you give to the various councils, whatever number of trucks you need, 7, 8, 10 trucks, whatever it is, and it's not just collecting garbage. The councils can also use these trucks though to make money. You could carry building materials, you could do other stuff, somebody moving from one to the other. So you could get revenue from that same truck to maintain it, pay the insurance and license. So the government does not have the burden to pay insurance, license, and to maintain the truck, because the councils will be using the truck to get some revenue to actually take care of the maintenance of that truck, while at the same time, every constituency will be well taken care of in terms of its garbage collection. So that's the kind of thinking that this guy is supposed to have, rather than having the burden on the central government and what do you call them, solid waste or what have you. Open up, empower the councils, allow them to perform the duties rather than having them in a chokehold. As a matter of fact, councils are now becoming no more, because you have this the party communities. I forget how to call it about development communities, or what do you call them, actually taking over the councils. Rather than empowering the councils, they are now sidelining them. And that's just my suggestion. I believe Wasby is also a councillor, right? You are still a councillor, Wasby?
No, I'm not, but one thing council is a council.
Right. So what's take on that in terms of empowering the councils and stuff like that?
Well, of course, I mean, there is no doubt councils need to be empowered because they have a very critical role to play in regard to communities. And if certain services can be better delivered by councils, then it makes it much easier even for central government.
Exactly.
But well, first of all, while we're on the issue of the, how we call it, the cost, did we say the cost of living? We say
cost of living, yeah.
We said
I think yes, quality of life.
Quality of life. The quality of life.
Yeah.
Well, let me first of all, I think the information put forward by Brother Dr. George, I think gives us a quick quantitative and qualitative analysis of where we are on critical areas like purchasing power, safety index, cost of living index, and so on.
Yeah.
But I would also want to say that if we're talking about quality of life, we also need to measure that vis-a-vis the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals has been outlaid by the international governments, the United Nations, involving the United Nations bodies and so on. And I think a proper, in addition to what Brother George suggested in terms of analyzing where we are in terms of our quality of life, I believe a proper analysis of where Dominica stands in relation to critical aspects of the Sustainable Development Goals would give us a much better and a much improved situation as to where we are in terms of the overall quality of life. Because the Sustainable Development Goals speaks to critical areas of development like food security, health, education, gender equality and empowerment. Just hold on, brother, Dr. George. Gender equality and empowerment, water and sanitation, reliable, affordable sustainable and modern energy, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, resilient infrastructure, reducing inequality, inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable cities and communities, adaptation to climate change and its impacts, and conserving our oceans, and there are a couple others, just to mention some of the more critical ones. So I'm saying it would be good if we could get a proper analysis.
Absolutely, yes.
By government bodies, whether it be the
information is available.
Yeah, so that we can know where Dominica fits in with regards to
Dominica does very
where
well.
we are in a lot of those critical areas that I've mentioned. If we can have that body of information, I believe it will seek to say for sure where we are, in addition to the information, Brother George, you have given in terms of analyzing where we are in terms of our quality of life.
Well,
thank you.
Allow me to respond, please. What I would say is you're making a very significant point. Again, the information is available. Like I said to the listeners, that it's previewed to their availability. What I will say is on some of the indexes that you made reference to in terms of education, Dominica does very well. I think Dominica have a literacy rate in the 90s, Yeah, it means that most people in Dominica get at least primary to secondary and even tertiary education. And so we rate very high. And in terms of water, absolutely yes. And so on some of those other indexes that you made reference to, or perhaps I should say indices, we rank well in some of them. But I just chose those few to show where we are struggling and where we can improve. And I think we should improve and we can improve. Again, I will always refer back to Mr. John Blanchard and to my brother Zed. I think the purpose of this program is to lend a voice to improve the livelihood of our Dominican people, where we all love. And this is not a criticism show. No, it's not. It's really about educating and really about providing data, and data runs policy, and for the best of our country. And Mr. John, I send it back to you.
All right, Doctor. Let's take a couple calls. Go ahead.
Dr. John, I like that Dr. George ended on data. One of the things and the reasons why we are where we are as a nation currently is because we do not collect data to enable data analysis. This government is delinquent on keeping us up to date on developmental data that is very important for us to make developmental decisions. So decisions are being made vai, on the spur of the moment, the thing of the people, what is emotional, what is whatever. Developmental decisions are not being made from critical analysis of data in this government. That's why it keeps coming up short. If you collect data and you do the right work analytically, you most of the time will make the right decisions. And that's one thing that's plaguing us in Dominica, and why one of the fundamental reasons why I know we need to change this government, because this government does not govern according to the fundamentals of governance. And there will always be a problem when you do not govern in that mindset.
All right, sir. Let's have a little musical break and take 1 or 2 calls, and then we'll get back right. Yes, what's the good?
Before you take the musical break, I just wanted to corroborate the point that Brother Zed made, and to say, Brother Zed, that we do not only need data, but we need updated data. I mean, I was listening to Mark Murray recently on a program, where he was about
that's Zed's partner, you know.
yeah, McMurray. I can't remember his topic, but he was with Mac
Population.
population and development
Yes,
and that kind of thing.
yeah.
And McMurray, we in 2024, and McMurray was using data he got from the statistics 2011. Do you imagine that? You know, and this is the point. We do not have the data that should really enable us to analyze things for what they are and to move out from there. You know, we just do things vai without having proper analysis to base our decision making, and that is a critical backwardness in our development process. Our statistics department, they need to be more forthright, they need to be more equipped, and I have always been making the point. I have seen other countries disclosing the information from their last census. Where is the information on Dominica's last census? Why is that information being withheld from the public?
It's a secret.
And if you do not have that information, how do you make plans and programs for health and education and agriculture and serious development in the country?
That's critical. All right.
The map not mapping. The situation serious while they have some people.
All right, Patriots, we could take one or two calls. So the lights will light, but now off.
And anytime a youth man hit the streets, then it's straight what I be dashing. And granny cap by dashing, much less for washing. The map not mapping. The map not mapping. Kill again. Yeah. So do the map, but that not mapping. All my head just scratching. Need have to be a
Good evening, caller. Right on cue.
Yes, it's me again.
Yes.
The information, whatever information they get from the, what is it again?
National census?
Yes, the census. They cannot put it out because they didn't get much people. When you send two young children in a place like Bathurst State area where I live, and when they go to the top first and coming down, somebody tell them, don't pass in that house.
Oh, already.
You understand? I watch it, I see it with my eyes.
Oh, I see.
Don't pass in that. They were choosing houses to pass in. What do you expect?
So it's the labor census then.
I just can't understand that. So they cannot put nothing out.
I mean, if they deliberately miss people, that would not be a correct census.
Very well. I am one that not in it because I wasn't checked. And plenty others in our area. The reds checked, but the blue or green did not check.
All right, Lucy, thanks for
And I support the person who said that our dollar is equivalent to a 50 cents now, and I agree with the person.
Thank you. In fact, the local palace now is we broke. I mean, I just walking through town for the week, man. Everybody seemed to be crying, boy. I've never seen things that bad. So, you know, yes, we talk all about all these indices, but from the local parlance, things are bad.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, I would like to agree with some of the stuff that Zed Lloyd said, which I think is very important. Our lack of participation in the democracy. That is to say, our lack of support when there are issues, our lack of coming out on the street together to show those numbers so that Roosevelt Skerrit can think twice.
That's correct.
And the reason I don't say that in a vacuum, because Roosevelt Skerrit himself, he is recently threatening his supporters. When his supporters, he said, even whisper about him, right, and talking nonsense, we can easily cancel the NEP process. And he went on to explain how he could do it. And you know that could affect a lot of his supporters. So he's threatening them. But at the same time, he's warning the opposition how easily or how effectively he can be at rallying his support of his supporters.
That's right.
So he understands the importance of rallying those blind followers. But it is time for them to wake up, and I suspect a lot of them are waking up.
Yeah.
And with all that money disappearing or unaccounted for, I should say, is Roosevelt scared putting it somewhere where it can come back as campaign funds? I'm asking myself that question all the time because there's no accountability and there's no money. It appears. So is he creating a stash for his next election so he'll have a 40 million as estimated in some of the other elections to come and
as customary.
oil the machinery to make them smooth again? And even if they were disgruntled because they get a lot of oil, they rally behind him again. And you see how important it is for the amount of money spent in a campaign to be accounted for.
That's correct.
The general public needs to know, because if you just get in this mass of money from nowhere, you know, it tips the scales. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep, campaign finance. That's where that comes in.
John, could I just answer to that quickly? It's very, you see, and that is why that challenge by the United Workers' Party is so very important. You see, what Roosevelt Skerritt organized in that MNC structure is a means to spend money without it being put forward, so that you already know it gets spent, because it's almost like a scheme. So as more passport money comes in, it fills in, but he always has use of the money even before it's accounted for to use for his political process. And that is what MNC does. MNC takes care of Roosevelt Skerritt's personal political financing arm, you know. That is what MNC does, you know. For Melissa, for this one, anyway, it's important for him politically. MMC is there financing the movement of taking over these constituencies, you know. You understand? So that is what is happening. Our money doesn't come into the parliament, but it gets spent by Roosevelt Skerritt before it's accounted for. And that's why I tell folks, MMC is not some guy come and pull on Roosevelt Skerritt. MMC is Roosevelt Skerritt's creation. It is his mechanism. It's not and that is where the court is going to take us, you know. You understand? This is a partnership. This is not some Arab just come and push his hand in Roosevelt Skerritt's eyes. No, this is a partnership. You see it on Roseau. You see how important Melissa is to his plan. You understand? Yeah. So we need to be very, and that's why it's critical for us to challenge this thing, because MMC gives Roosevelt Skerritt an unfair advantage politically in Dominica.
Yep, and that's why we keep advising the government on air and otherwise to put the passport money into productive use. Put into agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, build back factories, create sustainable jobs. You know, rather than just wasting the money. And so we need to remove that money from the hands of a foreigner and have all the money in our treasury where it can be accounted for. Because if the money is what's at the treasury, they must account for it, you know. They must account for it, although there are still ways and means you can take money, you know. I mean, you can always give an estimate of $2 million to build an apartment when it costs $1 million. So all of these things can happen, but the monies will be there, and we would see exactly what is happening to our money. And we could question the fact that you are building a two-room apartment for $2 million. But right now, in the hands of a foreigner, and it's being spent as they wish, it's very difficult. And that's why that court case is very critical. And like what Sabah said earlier on, that it is not just for UWP, it is for the people of Dominica.
Yeah.
So we are the benefactors of that court case right now. It's the people's agenda.
Yeah. Mr. John Blanchard, allow me to voice
sure.
One little injection here. There's a case in the US called Citizens United versus the Electoral Commission. And it's a case where there's a very ultra conservative group that had a very negative, I would say, advertisement about Hillary Clinton. And the liberals tried to stop it. And so the case ended up at the Supreme Court of the United States. So it was appealed. I don't know if it's unfortunately or fortunately, but they ruled in favor of the Conservative Party. And the issue of the decision was this. Can people get monies from anywhere and contend in a domestic election? The view of the liberals was the view that no. In other words, if Dion is an appelle, a retarded adotish, perhaps Russia would want Dion to win. If John Blanchard is the smart one, perhaps they would, because it's in their best interest for America to have a weak leader. And where you have a situation where a person can glean finances from an overseas donor, what it means, my friend, is that they can influence the result of the election. And so that is why what we are talking about tonight is very important. It's important because we cannot have persons from overseas literally, I mean that in the most literal sense, dictating who wins the election in Dominica. And so,
exactly.
Yeah, and so with that being said, the view that persons from the diaspora are talking about they sending remittances and they sending help, and that's for your family, my brother. That's charity, and the Bible says charity begins at home. You have to help your family, but that doesn't mean you have to cross the laws of the land. I think Dominica should elect their government. And again, I am not speaking on any party level. I speak as a scientist, and I'm saying that persons should vote for who they want to vote. And if Labour Party has more supporters, then salute. I'll do it. Salute. But if and if the people in Dominica think they want another party or a coalition of a party, whatever means it may be, let it be. I do not believe persons who have stayed overseas over 5 years and so forth. And so again, I just want to reiterate our points. I know we are like 8 o'clock right now.
Yes.
Yeah, the reason of residency, I think that should really be established. I don't think it's hard. I think that can be established. And I don't want Dominica to get into a fight of violence. I think we can at least get two things right now. Voters ID and residency. Also, I also believe that the government need to meet the people where they are. And I think the people are ready. I really think Dominicans are ready for good electoral reform with that starting point. Again, electoral reform is a process. It's a process that will not all what the persons want may not happen one time, but we can get some fundamental points. And I think the two, in my opinion, is voters ID and residency. Yeah, and that's my view. And I want to thank you so much for giving we here, all of us, including the president of CCM, Mr. Washby, including my good friend Zed Lloyd, yourself, Mr. Blanchard, the voice that the persons could hear things, and I can do a little research and present the data and try to make sense of the data. And I think persons can think for themselves. That's my comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. Let's just take one.
Thank you.
Before we round up. Okay, the person has gone. All right, folks. It's now 4 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock. So, Zed Lloyd, closing comments, and then we'll go to Washby. What is that?
Yeah, well, I want to employ to the patriots for listening that the struggle is at a juncture right now where sacrifices have to be made. And some people will not make the sacrifice and go out into the street, but make the sacrifice in your pocket. If you want to do it quietly, do it quietly. But at this juncture of the struggle, resources are critical for this struggle to survive. It's critical. The NRC is trying to get itself together. Court cases are trying to get themselves together. Different things are happening. People have been saying all folks have been doing is talking. Folks are starting to do more than talking. And so I want to call on the patriots to take a little thing out of your paycheck, as small as it is. Take a little thing out of your party money. Take a little thing out of your beer money. Make a contribution to some sector of the resistance right now.
Yeah.
Because this is 11th hour. And we cannot continue going that into the election next cycle. We have to treat this cycle right here as final cycle. Final cycle. This is damn nonsense that's going on in Dominica.
Mm-hmm.
One man can't have us like, a bunch of pussies for much longer. Let's make this last cycle. Let's make this last cycle. Straight up. It's time to deal with Roosevelt scary.
Well said, brother said, and it's a good call out there to the patriots. So whatever you can give, because this is going to take a lot of money. I think the guy said $100,000. Well, that is only the initial stages, but I believe it's going to take much more than that. And so we need to put our money where our mouths are. And like you said, some persons may want to stay in the back, don't want their face to be seen, but put your resources out there to help move the process forward. Brother Wash, a few comments and then we're out of here.
Yeah, in my closing comments, I firstly would just want to echo the point made by Brother Zed with respect to the fact when he mentioned that MMC is providing an unfair political advantage to the incumbent government. And this is where the campaign, the necessity for campaign finance legislation and regulation become paramount. Because you see, you cannot just use and have that unfair advantage and it is not being documented and reported. And it is a disadvantage and undermining of our democracy if we do not put proper checks and balances in place to regulate financing of political parties, especially with regards to electioneering and election campaigns. On the issue of maintaining our democracy, or I would say that persons must not just see themselves as voting and just putting a government in place and turning their backs on government. People have to be more proactive. People have to be prepared to participate and to commit themselves and to get involved. It is not enough just to put a party there and don't ask questions of that party. So the people must forever be in that mood to voice their opinion and to ensure the rule of law exists and that we pay due regard to the Constitution where that is concerned. My last point with regards to the electoral reform process. I listened to Commissioner Hillary Shillingford earlier this week, and I am even more concerned than I have been concerned about this process of electoral reform, because it would appear to me from what Hillary has explained, the Electoral Commission continues to be wasting a lot of time. I know they have requested more time of government, and government has given them that privilege. But I believe by now some communication on the draft should already have gone back to the government from the electoral commission. And it would seem from what Hillary is saying, there are persons on the commission who are deliberately causing delays in terms of the discussion and the feedback on the draft legislation. So I'm scared, and it may be planned. It may be something that has been machinated by the ruling party to meet their own political ends. And the people need to be aware and to be alert, so that in case that the government tries to push down this proposal that they have without that feedback from the Electoral Commission itself, I really see serious problems down the line for Dominica and the citizens of Dominica. So I am calling on the electorate that they need to be very alert in terms of what is happening from the Electoral Commission. And I believe by now the citizens should be in a position to take some sort of action to let it be seen and known to the Electoral Commission that we cannot continue to stand up to that kind of bullshit that is going on at the Electoral Commission. And I would like to close my presentation this evening on that score.
Before I call on Dr. Josh to give his closing comments, I just want to ask you a question, Washburn. Remember what happened in November 2022? That was when Prime Minister announced the snap election, right?
Yes, it is.
It was just about the time that Byron was supposed to present or submit the first phase for electoral reform. And in the middle of that, what did Kevin do? He called the snap election. Now, there was a snap election in December 2024. So what you're saying there is not surprised. It doesn't surprise me, because it could be a deliberate move to delay the whole process to take us into December, and then he's just again for another snap election. The question I want to ask, before you actually have reform, he's struggling with the next snap election. So my question to the public tonight is: are we going to allow it to happen? Because the emphasis should not be on scaring it on Labour Party or on the commission. The focus should be on we the people and what are we going to do about it to stop it. Simple as that. John.
Yeah, well, thank you. I won't stay more than 30 seconds. I just want to say thank you to you, Mr. John Blanchard. I think you're a very good host. I want to say thank you to my good friend, Zed Lloyd. And of course, the president.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
You're welcome. And also Mr. Wajbi. And again, I want to thank God for giving us a voice that we can provide information that can educate the public, and that they can think for themselves. And so with that being said, I want to say that we talked about electoral reform. I myself, my view is it's an ongoing process, but if we can get the voters' ID and to clarify the residency issue, that would be good. That's just a summarization of what I'm thinking. And the whole issue of the rebuilding of the roads in Salisbury, and that they should use proper material. And then you mentioned quality of life. And I said to you, if you ask me a question, some folks think I'm very theoretical, or I have a lot of theory in my disposition, but I like to dissect things piece by piece. And so I dissected it in terms of purchasing power index, safety index, climate index. I went as far as going into pollution index. And all of this really, it really applies to Dominica. Yes, even the pollution index in terms of the garbage and so forth. And so I think we did justice to the 2 hours that we had. I want to thank you so much for inviting me, and I want to thank all of you, and I want to say God bless you and keep you. Amen.
Thank you very
God
much,
bless, brother. God bless.
And before we end, let me just read a comment. I think that's a very important suggestion, and that is by Werner Roberts. She's suggesting that there should be an account in the credit union so people who don't have access to more banking can deposit the monies there. And I'll probably add to that and say not just the credit union, but the various banks. Well, how many? We have two banks, NBD and
Excellent.
yeah. So I think that's a very good suggestion. And let me just big up a few persons I'm seeing on the chat here, like Sarah Abraham and we have Ron Joseph, Marlene Chillingford, and others. Good evening to you guys. Thanks for linking up tonight with a CCM program. All right, folks, I think we have to round up here. It's now 14 minutes after 8 o'clock, and we have to get out of the people's studio. So, to you, the listening public out there, let me say thank you very much for those of you who called in and the comments and everything else. And we also want to solicit your support to the movement. Like what I said, it is put your money where your mouth is, and we support that 100%. Please do so. And the suggestion by Werner Roberts, I think, is a very good one that UWP should probably take on board and to have accounts open at the various credit unions around Ireland so persons can go in there and put the little $10, $20, $100, whatever they can put to move that thing forward. All right, folks. So thanks again, Brother Zed and Dr. Dion George. Thanks again for coming in tonight. And perhaps, guys, I want to suggest something tonight. I'm saying that perhaps we could the next topic, whatever topics we want to discuss in the next program, we could probably hype it up before the program so persons can be prepared, call in and ask the questions and be part of the discussion. You know, rather than having it like the very same night. Right? All right. So with these few words, guys, let me just say good evening to the entire world of Dominica and stay safe and enjoy your weekend. All right. God bless and good night.
Greetings, Mr. Abdullah. Salam alaikum. I'm singing to make you aware. Things are bad at home. The loss of treasury down here is empty, and you in charge of our treasury overseas. Over 6 billion and counting, and we the people down here strutting. Never in our life before, in our Dominica, all our wealth offshore, and our people so poor. We facing a crisis here, so I bypassing leader, we suspect you don't like him anymore. Bring money, Mr. Abdullah, bring money. Everybody broke down here, bring money. You know to a free, bring money. From our treasury overseas, bring money. The man never see come see, waste all the country money. Buying election and building mansion. Now we going after credit union. You see, we want to save for people money. I got you. I got you. It's up to you, Mr. Abdullah. Salam alaikum. Corruption of citizens falling. electoral reform. Government owing everybody. Any the workers can get their salary. No need for passport printing. Business ready, the country falling. No history, Arab and black slavery. There's an opportunity to win with diplomacy. To front load money before, come front load a little more. 6 million of I for it before. Bring money, Mr. Abdullah, bring money. Everybody broke down here, bring money. A billion or two or three, bring money. From our treasury overseas, bring money. The man never see come see, waste all the country money. Fighting opposition and buying loyalty. He borrowing from social security, you see. He want to pull a pension money. This is a warning, Mr. Abdullah. Salam alaikum. Your time is coming, we will come calling. If you don't come home. Remember, you signed the contract publicly in the Windsor Park. If you mama guide the leader, that is he, not Dominica. They got a chance to be a high developed country instead of prosperity. We see in more poverty. So your decision would make you a wanted man or the greatest Muslim in modern times. Bring money, Mr. Abdullah, bring money. Everybody broke down here, bring money. A billion or two or three, bring money. From our treasury overseas, bring money. The man never see come see, waste all the country money, sending all the money overseas. Now we going after NBT. We only battle in our country. Die, 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 die. Come on. I got you. I got you. I Yes, I. This is the Workers' Party. Good morning, soul. Like soul. Jump, jump, jump. Everybody, everybody. Workers' Party. Jump, jump. Doing the impossible. Eyes falling on all people. I am a lady, say, that's Papa Boche, and never can see